Hey guys, Devon here. Welcome to another interview. Sat down a few days ago with Alex Hancock, and we talked a lot about his journey of writing and how he got started with lit RPG, and now is doing almost exclusively harem lit. He's very prolific on Royal Road, so we talked about that, and we talked about his relationship with Royal Guard. Sorry, it's a little bit late here. Coming up on midnight. I've been working on this for a while, and a little bit slow, but it was good talk to him, and it's always nice to hear other authors' perspectives on things and how their process is different than mine, and how sometimes we do things similar and get sort of get a beat on what other people are doing. And so this might be helpful to you if you're new to the writing space and you want to see what the others are doing. You want to give this one a look, and I hope you enjoyed this. All right, welcome everybody. I'm here with Alex Hancock, the writer of Dungeon Mantle, and I think as I counted, you have seven active series on Royal Road. So we're going to definitely talk about that because that's something I have an interest in. Um, but yeah, so Alex, welcome, and go ahead and give us a
Thanks
little
for having
introduction
me.
for yourself.
I'm Alex Hancock. I've been writing on Royal Road for about 3 years now. Um, Started out with young adult harem lit and kind of branched out into just about everything else.
So now, what is
But
young adult harem lit? I haven't heard that one before. How does that work?
fade to black and keep everything in. Uh, Got 18, 19-year-old main characters, and so
Okay.
everything is just right there in that kind of coming of age, but there's no cursing. I keep all the fighting, blood and gore down to a minimum.
Mm,
Everything is really quick to fade to black, so
okay.
it's
But even if they're like 18,
fairly
19, that
clean.
wouldn't be, yeah. So you're
Yeah,
not going to hit up on any
so
like censorship filters or anything.
no.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very clean as far as what you might usually expect.
Okay. Cool.
So
Um, so how did you sort of get into like Haremlit? What was your first access to that? And like,
Dungeon Diving 101
okay, that was it's Centaur, right? Bruce Centaur?
was Centaur.
Yeah.
Yes, 2023.
Okay.
That was my brother goes, "Hey, I just read this really cool lit RPG book you need to check out." And I went,
Okay.
"Okay." And then I started reading it and I went, "Wait, what is this?"
So wait, now was that because you read so many books that kind of blend? Was that the one where the guy was isekai'd to like this game planet or
Oh,
something where the system was breaking down? Am I remembering that one? No, wait,
no,
no, that's
that
dungeon
no,
diving for loot and levels. Never mind. Okay.
yes. Dungeon Diving 101 was where Ken goes to the all girls school
Okay. Yeah, I haven't read
and
that
okay. But yeah, that's Bruce Centaur and it was really fun.
one. Okay.
And I went, this is cool.
Okay.
So,
So now you just decided from that point, like, had you written anything before, or was it like, oh, I think I can do this too?
um, I I was going to my grandmother's 75th birthday
Okay.
and driving from Arkansas to Florida with my brother, and we were driving overnight and because it was at night and we couldn't really read in the car, we started talking about kind of, space fantasy type Star Wars meets Lord of the Rings book series that would be cool if it existed.
Okay.
And um, when we got back, I started trying to write it. And that's where Tription, which is on my Royal Road, I put the first book on Royal Road. Um, I wrote that back then.
Okay. Now, had you done
So
much
I've
writing
been
before that, or was it just something you just
before
jumped in
that,
both feet?
that was something I jumped in both feet to try. I was in a theoretical mathematics program at the time.
Okay. So you don't normally figure
So
those
me
are
trying to
analogous unless
write
you're like
was
Isaac Asimov or something.
yeah, me trying to write was very was not in my wheelhouse.
Okay.
It's just so, but I kept at it and kept writing in my free time, and eventually I got to where I'd been writing on and off for about 15 years at that point.
Oh wow. Okay.
So, and then I went, huh, I wonder what a harem lit that I navigated through would be or would
Hmm.
look like. Because I had mainly tried writing in the young adult space up until that point. So,
Okay. Well, so one of the reasons I'm doing this series of interviewing people in the business is to sort of, when I was looking into getting into the genre and just writing long form, I had done some stuff before, just goofing around.
mhm,
But when I went to looking to what is this genre and how does it work and who are the people that are doing things, I didn't find anything or almost nothing. So that's why I decided, well, I'll make it myself. So we talk a lot about the process. So for you, as you go from idea and everything, how do you like where are you pulling these ideas from? It's a common question to authors and creators. It's like, oh, where do you get your inspiration and stuff like that? So do you sort of follow a meta? Because I know that's a big thing that there's a lot of, the output quantity can become like a lot in this genre. So do
mhm.
you look for what's trending and do you try to write to that, or you get an idea out of nowhere and are you getting inspiration from other writers, other genres, anything like that?
Um, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't getting inspiration from other writers
Oh yeah, no, I,
because
I pull inspiration from all over
yeah,
the place.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You pull inspiration from everything that you read. Um, but as far as following the meta goes, not really. Um, I kind of write what speaks to me
Okay. Yeah, I do the same
as
thing.
far as as far as what the current series that I'm writing right now is, well, okay, so I'm currently writing Dungeon Mantle, 42nd Looper, and Lawless Pride, but Lawless Pride's the one I consider I'm currently writing.
Hmm.
Um, because it's the newest one. Um, the main character has no powers.
Now, is this in a world where other people do have powers or
Yes.
okay.
So the main character, as well as oh, I'm gonna just say all of his women right now have no powers.
Okay. Yeah, we don't need to give spoilers.
So so in a world where people have enough magic to destroy an entire planet, he has nothing.
Hmm.
And so how he's trying to fly under the radar and how he's trying to interact with things against these people who have these awesome powers, have, corporations that own companies across planets
Hmm.
all over the place. So the wealth that he has to go up against as far as that's concerned.
It's
And
underdog story, yeah.
it's very underdog instead of kind of the OPMC where he walks in and he's the big dog everywhere.
Hmm. Yeah, I find
So,
myself like when I'm reading for myself, I tend to gravitate towards the more, just the regular guy, does good
mhm,
kind of thing. Because what I've noticed with a lot of the OPMC stories, and which, if somebody likes it, that's fine, but it power creep becomes a big problem. And,
yes.
it's just when you start at the top, there's not much room to grow. And so, especially as series stretch out, it's sort of like that was that Dragon Ball Z, the Goku, just the stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And it to me that removes a lot of the stakes. So yeah, I tend to write the same kind of characters and then also the books that I enjoy the most have those characters that struggle and they have to really work
Hmm.
through these obstacles and stuff like that. So,
And I write in the same universe, so all of my series share the same universe.
oh, interesting. So all the books are all
Now,
like connected.
all the books are all connected.
There's another
Dungeon
guy that
Mantle
does
is
that.
kind of,
William D. Arand. He does that.
yes.
He's got, but
Uh,
even under two different pen names, I think, because he his William D. Arand and then Randy Darren, I
and
think.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And
Now,
Michael
was that,
Dalton
were you
does
pulling that from
that.
them, or was this something that you just started doing on your own?
That was so when I started writing Tription back in 2008, had side characters and I had kind of the supporting characters that were in it for just, a couple chapters or an arc.
Okay.
And I was like, that would be a really cool origin story. And so, kind of as you're creating the characters and giving them a backstory, the history starts coming together of,
Mm,
oh, well, they did this back here with this, and then this has to fit in here, and then this fit in over there. And then pretty soon they have their own story.
mm. No, yeah, I just actually I
So,
did the same thing with my series. I wrote a novella, like 25,000 word novella about two side characters that don't have much to do yet, but they do show up later in the book, in the series. I'm planning out more for it. So yeah, I just like I'm gonna write these. I want to write these guys out. Yeah, I want to see what happens to them. And so yeah,
mhm.
I get it.
And so you get to see kind of where who's doing what and what's happening and the different points in history. And so that's kind of where I would get the characters from
Okay.
as far as who would be from what book, because that's their story. That's what they did in that instance.
Mm,
And it tends to make the power creep harder
mm,
to have because I've got kind of a history through all of it. So my main characters can't overpower because if they do, then it throws off all of the history from where everything else is.
mm,
And so I can't, so there's a set amount of power that they can gain within each arc.
okay.
And the bad guys are already aware of stuff. And so there are some stories that get ended very quickly
Mm,
because the bad guys go, oh, that's going to be a threat in a little bit. Let's just get rid of that right now.
mm. Okay.
So,
So
yeah.
as you're sort of crafting, because then you've got multiple stories going on, all connected now. We know that they're in the same universe, all different main characters, different side characters, things like that. So for you, like how do you go about creating a new MC? And then also because this is harem lit and a lot of focus is on the girls, what goes into your thought process? Like, do you start with like a name and build it out, like this name, or do you start with a concept? Like where does that flow from and how do you develop it?
Um, with Lawless Pride, what I did was I took um personalities based on the uh horoscope sign.
Oh, okay. Is that part of like the lore of the world?
And no, but it was how I picked where their birthdays were going to be.
Oh, okay.
And so having, well, their, and now I'm struggling to
It's late for you. It's all right.
remember my horoscope lore.
Was it about
Um,
11 p.m. there?
at 9:15,
Okay, 9 p.m.
but
So,
still, yeah, it has been a day and a week.
yeah.
Um, but I pulled up I've got books on horoscopes and birth order and how people are raised, child raising, and how different things impact how people will grow,
Okay.
and referencing that stuff to help build their backstory and what that turns them into.
Hmm.
So hitting it from a couple different angles of, okay, so this one's an only child. This one is an older child, but the younger sibling was the one that was favored. This one is a middle child that was the middle child of her father, but the only child of her mother. So how does that play
Okay.
as far as the raising goes and stuff like that?
Hmm.
And that
So you
was
try to
kind
make it a
of,
little more organic,
yes.
as opposed to saying like this character is Yandere, and I don't even know all those terms, but like this is the bitchy one and this is the nerdy one. You look at it more of like environment, a nurture,
Hmm.
nature kind of thing.
And yeah, and that's what produced the nurturer. That's what produced the quiet, reserved one.
Hmm.
That's what produced the flamboyant, flirty one.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
so that's, yeah,
Then
kind of
I
how
should
I
ask you
got
like, do you
to
prefer? Because again, I've only just started Dungeon. I lost the name. It's in my notes. Dungeon Mantle.
Mantle.
I got the
Yes.
audiobook, but do you prefer smaller harems or larger ones? How do you because that's always a topic of discussion, large harem, small harem. How do you sort of do you just wait for inspiration like I think we need one more, or you start out with a fixed sort of number in your head?
Um, so I kind of have ideas of what for Dungeon Mantle, it's been kind of when the girls decide to join, if they decide to join. Um, that one has made me throw away my outlines and notes quite a bit
Hmm.
because I'll have a character who just decides to go off the rails, and then I'm going, okay, this isn't where my outline wanted this to go.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that came up when I was talking with FG. We talked, I feel like we talked about that where that's something that people who don't write never can fully appreciate. It's like, what do you mean they did this? They're your characters. It's like, well yeah, but like when they're in your head, they're telling you things. It's like you build that
Yeah.
character and then you start writing. It's like, no, he wouldn't do that, or no, she's gonna do this, but you don't know it until it happens because it's like they're
Yeah.
feeding you that info. So it's almost schizophrenic in a way. And I've had that
Almost,
conversation with
yes.
non-writers. They're like, what? It's like, it's hard to explain that feeling.
It is. And you're getting there where you're writing that scene and you're going, you're not even in this scene. Shut up.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, I'm not
Because you got the
schizophrenic, I
character.
promise. It's just.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my characters are talking to me.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah.
And it's a
So,
wild feel. I get kind of addicted to that feeling. When you're writing and you're kind of in the zone or the flow
mhm,
state or whatever it is, and it's like they're whispering in your ear, and it's crazy, but it's fun. So,
yeah. So I prefer smaller harems because they're easier to keep up with.
mm,
Um, they're easier to give page time to the love interests. Um, Dungeon Mantle grew a lot larger than what I wanted it to,
okay.
and it's going to keep growing. So,
Okay. So kind of the opposite of what you said you like to do, but it's happening anyway.
yeah, with Dungeon Mantle, I wanted it to only have 5 girls,
Mm,
and he's already past that
okay.
and hasn't even got to the end of the first school year yet.
Okay.
So,
Well, isn't he the
yeah,
popular one? Okay.
he is sort of the popular one.
Mm,
Um, although he's got his cousin who's also trying to make her own lesbian harem at the same time, so she keeps trying to poach the girls that get
Say
close to
no.
him.
Keep your hands off my women,
Uh,
cousin.
yeah.
Well, I mean, speaking of a
So,
story kind of growing beyond what you intended, that sort of segues into the next part is, again, a common question among writers and people like, do you outline or not? So, do you do a lot of outlining? Is it more sort of just because like the way that I do it, it typically is I'll know the main story beats that I need to hit,
mhm,
but how they get from A to B is often left open. But then there's occasional there will be scenes where I'm outlining and there's specific dialogue that I plan,
mhm.
weeks or months in advance when I'm doing the outline that need that just, I need that. So how do you look at your story and how much of it is outlined and exactly what's going to happen and how much of it is let's just kind of see what happens.
So with Lawless Pride, the third book, when I was writing, I had the first book more or less outlined. Um, and when I got to chapter 6 of book 1, I went and wrote the epilogue for book 3.
Okay.
Because that just the scene was there and I had to write it.
Mm,
And so I wrote the epilogue for book 3 right after I wrote chapter 6 of book 1.
okay.
Um, Sometimes the inspiration hits like that. Um, I was only planning on Lawless Pride having an initial trilogy, and then I was told that I needed to write 2 more books.
Oh, okay.
So, um, kind of I had an idea of where I wanted it to go after that, but I don't have the outline I usually like to have
Mm.
for
So when you
those
went
next
into
two
those
books.
later stories, how did that affect your writing? Do you think like the speed or the quality of it without having the more detailed outline?
It definitely slows me down.
Mm,
It definitely slows me down because I'm having to think, where are the highlights? Where are the points I need to hit?
mm,
And how many chapters do I have to get to that? How much time do I have to get to that? What else is happening that is going on in other places?
mm,
Um, but for um, I started because I had started because I had thought I was done with Lawless Pride for a while. I had started doing the outline of the next series I wanted to work on, and so I've got 100 chapters of that outlined.
nice. Okay.
Um, and now I'm having to go back and finish Lawless Pride, and so I've still got that next series poking around in my head, going, "Yeah, you're gonna need to fix the outline there because you actually need another scene there, so you're gonna have to move these two together."
Hmm. Okay.
And making notes of what I need to do in the 100 chapters after the ones I already have outlined. And yeah, I've got stories bouncing around in my head.
So if you're talking to somebody who wants to start writing, would you and they say, "Hey, should I outline or not?" Would you recommend outlining as a good thing to do, or would you say just go with the flow and see how it feels?
It depends
Because
on
like I
your
said, that question
personality.
comes up all the time. Should I outline?
It depends on your personality.
Okay.
I know people who cannot follow an outline at all. I know people who find writing an outline to be extremely frustrating.
Mm,
They are pure pantsers. You give them a couple story beats and then they run with it. And that's the best way they can write.
mm,
And I know other people who their outlines are so detailed that they have dialogue in their outlines.
Yeah, I do that sometimes. Yeah. And I have to
So
sort of like stop myself because I will be going into too much minutia and the outline's like, wait, this is just the outline. It's not the chapter kind of thing.
yeah.
So yeah, I've had to curtail some of my outlining because okay,
Mhm.
this is my outlining document is like, 23 pages long. I was like, okay. So, but like,
Yeah.
I didn't outline. I've been with my first series for so long. Um, that as I went into book three, I didn't feel the need to outline as much because I was like, well, I
Hmm.
already know what they're doing. I've been with these characters now for 500,000 plus words. I felt pretty confident that it wouldn't affect me too
Hmm.
much, but I do notice slower output. I still kind of have the
Yes.
basic idea, but so for me, I would always at least try to outline, I think.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, they make it into it's like, no, I don't need to. So yeah, but for me, it's always like, yeah. Cool. Let's talk a little bit more about your book specifically. And one thing I definitely wanted to talk to you about is Royal Road because Harem Lit and Royal Road don't get along too well. But when
Not
we
at
first
all.
start, yeah, when we first started talking, and I looked you up on Royal Road, I said you've got seven active series. Hang on, let's just give I got your page up here. Where did it go? So yeah, we've
It's
got uh the Trifton Saga. Trift,
hmm
am I saying that right?
Driftion.
Triftion?
Driftion.
Triftian Saga, ongoing. Ascended, ongoing. Mantle of the Gods, Search for Immortality, ongoing. Into the Game, ongoing. Sin Eater, ongoing. Lawless Pride 1 to 3 is complete, but I guess it still says ongoing, so I'm not sure.
It
And
is book four is coming out right now, so
okay. And then 42nd Looper, books 1 to 4, is complete, but I guess the series is still ongoing. So
it's
so yeah,
ongoing. Yes.
you're prolific on Royal Road. Um, so first thing I just wanted to talk about a little bit more process stuff is how do you keep this many series going in your head? Like, how do you organize that? How do you keep that straight? How do you decide what you're writing today? Do you have a schedule you stick to, or you just what do you feel like? Because yeah, you've got a lot of stuff.
Um, I try to keep at least a month ahead on Dungeon Mantle and Lawless Pride.
Okay.
As far as so everything that's going to go up on Royal Road for Dungeon Mantle and Lawless Pride this month was already finished last month.
Mm.
And I'm mostly got what's going to go up in September done. So I will try to get those focused down, get that backlog done up.
Do you would pick a
Uh,
series and like I'm going to write this much, then stop, then you jump to the next one. So you're not writing like
mhm.
Monday you're doing this one, Tuesday you're doing that one. You're writing in sort of sections, I guess.
For those two, yes. For 42nd Looper, I've burned through all my backlog, and because I'm not putting it on my Patreon, um, that one usually gets written the day before it goes out on Road.
Oh wow. Okay.
So, um, sometimes I will wind up getting enough of a backlog to tide me over a little for that one,
Mm.
but um, usually that's I get up in the morning and that's the first thing I write, and then I start working on either Dungeon Mantle or Lawless Pride.
Okay. And I did want to mention so when I went and looked up your stuff, you only have the one series on Amazon. Is the plan to take the rest of these to Amazon too, or you happy just stick it on Royal Road and Patreon?
Um, Lawless Pride will go on to Amazon once I get book five done.
Okay.
And then books one through three, I believe books one through three are going to get combined into a volume one. And then book four will become volume two, and book five will become volume three.
Okay.
I believe that's the plan.
Hmm.
Um,
You're
42nd
working with
Looper,
Royal Guard for those, right?
yes,
Okay.
yes. 42nd Looper, I'm hoping that I can get it um out, but it's female main character. in lit RPG,
Okay.
and it's a time loop.
Mm,
And I was told 2 years ago when I started going, you know what? I thought I think this would be a really cool concept to try a lit RPG with a time loop. And I had a couple people tell me, you can't do that because those are two opposite concepts. Time loop is continuous resets,
yeah.
and lit RPG is the numbers always go up.
Yeah. You're like, hold my beer.
So
Oh,
it, those two don't really go together. I'm going, but I think it'd be cool.
yeah.
And
If you're a
and I
D&D
have this
player, we have
place
the rule
where
of cool.
and I have this place where it actually works in my timeline.
Uh,
So I want to try it.
okay.
And it is my most successful series on Royal Road, but that doesn't necessarily success on Royal Road doesn't necessarily translate to success on Amazon.
Yeah. Well, we can kind of like
So
jump into Royal Road a little bit. And I'll circle back around to a couple other things I had. But so, okay. For those people who aren't familiar with Royal Road has they barely tolerate harem lit as it is. And then was it last year, maybe fall of last year, they took away with the harem lit tag and they switched it to
they
what,
come
multiple romances or something.
multiple love interests.
That's what it was, yeah. And
They
to me,
folded
that's
it.
yeah,
They combined harem, which is a guy chooses multiple women to care for at the same time,
yeah,
with choice paralysis, which is the guy has multiple women interested in him and he has to choose one of them
mm,
and then cut the others.
mm.
And they combined both of those into the same group,
That
which that's two opposite things.
yeah. And to me, I mean, I'm kind of a pessimist when it comes to that stuff, or I don't know if pessimist is the right word, but I don't assume they're trying to do that to make it better. I assume they're doing that to try to make us leave. Like they don't want to come out and just ban harem lit, but they're trying to find a way to like make it more, but maybe not. Again, I don't know what goes into running a site like that, but that's how it felt because they have to be aware. And apparently you've talked with like the site admin. That was a comment you made in our Discord chat. Like you've had
Yes.
conversations with the people upstairs. And so they have to know the situation that we're in where
When they
yeah,
made the post about combining those tags and the changes they were making, um, someone commented that it was going to make it didn't make sense for Haremlit, and it was going to make Haremlit even harder to get a following. And the response from one of the admins was, I would just assume Haremlit get off the site completely.
yeah. So I was right. My I didn't see that post, but yeah, because I'm not active on Royal Road
That,
unless I'm posting, and I'm even then I'm not like deep into the community. I just post my shit and I leave. Like I logged in
yeah,
today just to check so I could have your page up, and I had a message from like the beginning of July. At the time of this recording, it's August 8th. So I was like, oh shit, because it doesn't send me a message. So
yeah.
yeah, I'm
I,
not aware of what goes on behind the scenes and stuff like that. But that confirms my suspicion that they were doing it just to fuck with us. Maybe not target us, but they were aware of what they were doing and they didn't care.
and that was, I mean, that kind of falls in line with when they made, which I understand that there was a lot more to it with the way that they tightened things when they kicked a lot of the NSFW and they put the 10% can be NSFW
Yeah.
or can be explicit. And most of the explicit haremlit people went over to Scribble Hub.
See, I
That was
went to
back in
Scribble
what,
Hub early on.
2020,
Yeah, I
2021?
created a Scribble Hub account, but for whatever reason, my story got zero traction there.
Hmm.
It did fairly well on Royal Road. It did phenomenal on Literotica. But it was crickets on Scribble Hub. And the joke in the Discord, the Haremlit Discord, was like, "Oh, you need more Futanari," because I guess they like that stuff over on Scribble Hub. So yeah, I dropped Scribble Hub as updating there at like chapter 20 or something of my first book because there was zero engagement, almost no followers. The reader count was stagnant. As I was like, it just for whatever reason, it's not hitting here, and there was no way to like at least with I'm losing my words. With Royal Road, there's shout outs and there's you can tag people, and the review system is pretty cool, and you can like coordinate with other authors to try to promote each other. Scribble Hub didn't seem to have any of that. So without some way to sort of generate like what's the word I'm looking for? Like engagement. I was like,
Hmm.
well, I'm getting no traction. It hasn't, where my follower count on Royal Road in the same time frame had jumped to over 100 when I first started posting. Scribble Hub, I had like five. It was weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't use Scribble Hub, and I don't know if it's gotten any better in the 2 years or 3 years since I left it. But Literotica pained me the most because Literotica has an awesome user base. They are so engaged and they are so hungry for good content. But the admins are, I could rant for half an hour on the bullshit they do over there. And I've abandoned it. It cost me a lot of money to leave Literotica because on my
Mm.
Patreon, um, full 70% of my patrons came over from Literotica and they paid. A lot of them paid money. But the website has gotten so frustrating to use. It's always been a pain in the ass because they insist on like just the two people who have always run it. They do it by themselves and they don't pay for anybody to
Mhm.
come in and help them. They so we'll do it, and so it's fucked. So Royal Road was this nice place. It had great features. The website is clean. It's organized. They apparently have a new beta. I haven't changed my display yet to them, but to see them so antagonistic towards Haremlit was really sort of depressing, I guess. Because like,
Yes.
what are we doing that's so bad? It's okay, there's a sex scene. It's not like it's not violating terms. It's no pedophilia or anything like that. It's just why would they do that? You know? Do you have any insight there?
I,
You have any guesses? Because again, you're much more into that than I am. So
I have no idea why they don't like it. I I don't know. I kind of equate it if you try to promote a harem lit over on like the lit RPG subreddit
yeah,
or the
don't touch.
progressive fantasy subreddit.
Yeah,
Don't do that. Don't do that. You're gonna get unless you think that bad publicity is actually good publicity, don't do
yeah.
that. That's a good way to get negative karma.
Well, from what I've seen, because I am more active on Reddit, although not lately. But the lit RPG subreddits and prog fantasy subreddits, they apparently they've seen maybe in the early days of the genre, there were so many authors who tried to include just some kind of romance in the books, and they were so awful as far as how they wrote the romance that now it's just like we just don't do that in lit RPG. There's no romance allowed. There's no girlfriends. There's no wives. It's just everybody is
Yeah.
asexual, I guess. Um, and there was one book I read. Was it Path of Ascension? And early on, I kind of liked it, but then the main character is apparently bisexual. I forget his name, but have you read Path of Ascension?
I have not.
Yeah, so but he's also got this he's got a very strong aversion to being touched. So he's got a girl that he grew up with as like a family friend. She's interested in him and he kind of likes her, but then he's got this guy, it's an academy series. But he seems to like want some kind of relationship, but he can never be touched because he was like traumatized as his father beat him as a kid, so he doesn't like physical touch. He can't, even his sister tries to give him a hug. He's like, don't hug me. So I was like, what the hell? It's like, if you want to have a gay character, fine. If you want to have a straight character, fine. But why include this and also make him unable to be touched? Because he
Mm,
completely freezes and panics if anybody touches him, even in a non-sexual way. It's like, so I kind of get it. That book really
yeah.
frustrated me, and I dropped the series not because of that explicitly, but there was other things that I didn't like about it. But it started out good. But yeah, so the lit RPG thing, and then there was another one I read, Portal to Nova Roma. And that one was pretty
Heard of that
good.
one.
It was about an AI that flees Earth. It uses its massive brain, AI brain, to like create a portal to another universe or whatever, where there's a lit
Mhm.
RPG system, and he creates himself a body. And that one apparently is gonna have some romance in it, like he was hinting at it. I was like, okay, I'm kind of curious to see where this goes because it was a pretty good story. So if you like lit RPG, Portal to Nova Roma was pretty good. Um, but yeah, so maybe everybody at Royal Road is just a bunch of lit RPG like fans who don't want any romance. I don't know.
That
Um,
that's the vibe I get.
yeah.
I don't have anything to back that up other than that's just the vibe I get.
Well, I mean, if it looks like a duck,
So
talks like a duck, you know, like I said, to me,
it
as
could
soon
be a
as I
goose.
saw the announcement, that seemed obvious what they were doing.
Yeah.
Um, and what I would do when I would post my spicy chapters on Royal Road, I would put a disclaimer, and I also kept the spicy chapters, self-contained.
Hmm.
And I put them in interludes, and there's no story development in those chapters. It's just, it'll be the chapter preceding will be fade to black, and then it'll say interlude, and I would put a disclaimer, this is a spicy chapter. And I would even release an extra chapter that week on Royal Road, so the people who expected like 3 chapters a week or something, but they don't like spicy chapters, they could skip it and still get their full 3 chapters. So that's how I try to balance it, and
Hmm.
not get people mad at me on Royal Road,
Yeah.
because you don't want to get brigaded. And now, have you, for the, because you're jumping both sides of the fence, you're doing lit RPG and you're doing harem lit. So, and a lot of times authors they'll have a separate pen name for that. They'll do lit RPG over here under
And
this pen name. And so what was your thought process there to sort of like, I'm just going to do both and just publish both under the same name?
I'm using the same Royal Road account when I publish 40-second Looper. I'll have to use a different pen name.
Oh, okay.
Espe- Especially because, I mean, it's a female main character. She's autistic, so there's I say there's no romance. In the very first chapter, the 41st Looper was her boyfriend for like the past 300-400 years. And he resets all the way back to the beginning and then passes the ability to loop onto her. And then he says, I love you,
Hmm.
and starts the reset all over again. So now she's the one who's looping.
Ah, okay.
And she has no idea what's going on because she had no memory of any of that. But I caught a lot of grief from people going, "You said there's no romance in this." Going, there's really not. I mean, he shows up and he says, I love you. And she's like, I don't know who you are.
Hmm. I
And then
don't
he doesn't
understand
show
people.
up again.
It's
So,
People are weird.
yeah.
I mean, I understand if you don't like romance books, but if for somebody to
Hmm.
freak out because there was an "I love you," it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Well, so I want to kind of move a little bit into, so for someone who wants to risk Royal Road, now if they're writing harem lit, we often talk about the Royal Road meta, right? And how to sort
Hmm.
of thrive there and reach an audience. So, what are some tips and tricks that you have, when you're releasing a new story there, to try to make sure it maximizes engagement and gets picked up by their algorithm as much as it can? Any best practices there?
Um, I released 40-second Looper last January, and that was the last time I really tried to play to their algorithm, play to the strengths and stuff.
Mm.
Um, it's gonna be it's not impossible to get a harem lit onto Rising Stars main. JD Jackson just recently did it with Isekai uh was it Isekai Barmaid was the name of his story
Okay.
that he just put on well, I say just, but it was his latest story that he put on Royal Road, and he got on Rising Stars main with it. But it's so difficult to get on Rising Stars main with a haremlet story,
Yeah,
just
Throne made it
because.
onto two like separate categories. The top,
Mhm.
I made it into like the top 20, but not on main. It was in like I
Yeah,
forget like adventure and maybe romance, but I never made it to the Rising Stars main. So
on the estimator, Lawless Pride made it up to estimated place between 51 and 56,
okay.
and then started falling.
Uh,
And I was just like, "Oh." But
Now, do you do the
I
thing
mean,
where like you when you're putting out a new book there, do you drop like 20 chapters right away or 10 chapters like front loaded and then like I've heard that because they say, oh, you want to give people a chance to get invested in the story, so don't just like because I fucked up my first release. I only did like one chapter a week. I still managed to eke
mhm.
out some success there, but I do okay. Later, I was like, oh, that was all wrong, right? You have
Oh
to,
yeah.
and so when I did book two, I dropped like 10 chapters right away. But at that point, it didn't matter so much. So how many chapters do you typically drop when you're starting a new story there?
Um, so their algorithm starts kicking in at 20,000 words.
Mm,
So if you want to start it, you would set a manual release about a week, maybe two, depending on how much prep time you want. You publish a story, go in on chapter one, delete all the body of chapter one out, put your launch announcement in, change the title of it from chapter one to launch announcement, and then you start setting up all of your shout outs.
mm,
Because you've now got the page ready, you don't have the word threshold, then the algorithm's not going to start counting it.
okay.
Um, you get your shout outs all set up, get it where day one of what your actual launch is, and you drop between the 10,000, 20,000 words. Just real quick, drop them like some people do it 5 minutes apart, some people do it 30 minutes apart, some people do it an hour apart. It doesn't really matter as long as you get them out there fairly soon
Mm,
in a cluster together. Lawless Pride was 2,000 word chapters, so I did 10 chapters day one.
mm,
Um, and then I did daily chapters after that. And that's about you keep trying to do shout outs with people to get it in front of stuff. You can run ads if you want. Um, Supposedly, right now, ads are still the best way to get people to your story.
mm.
The square box ads, not the banner ones.
Yeah.
Um, Shout outs still do a fairly decent amount of work. I only did shout outs with Lawless Pride, and I'm up over 200 followers now.
Okay.
Um, so, and that's pretty decent for not getting on Rising Stars main.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I had some people
but
approach me for shout outs, but they were writing lit RPG and I was because Royal Road is so tenuous, our acceptance there and the way people tend to respond to harem or harem lit. I
mhm.
only accepted shout outs requests from other harem lit writers because I was so worried about like crossover. People's like, what is this? Oh, they're kissing. 0 stars. Because
I
unfortunately, that's the
got those
reality
on
of
Dungeon Mantle.
yeah, which
Yeah.
it really sucks. Like I said, I don't know. Yeah, anyway, we're not going to rehash that one. All right, well, let's go more into like your like the what have you learned since you started publishing regularly like this? What do you think? What are some things that you've learned doing self-publishing and then working with like Royal Guard and stuff like that? Like that you could pro tip. Like I said, this is for new authors that might be looking for what to do and how to do it. So, what would you say you've learned over the last several years of publishing yourself?
If if you're wanting to make money out of lit RPG, you really need to try to write towards the meta.
Mm.
That's just there's not a lot of if it's not an OPMC, if it's not male main character, if it's not devoid of romance, you're going to get strikes against you, and that's going to make it harder to gain traction. Um, if it's haremlet, as long as you follow the basic rules of haremlet, there's an audience out there. It's a whole lot easier to find an audience for haremlet, even in some of the more, I mean, yes, space stories within haremlet don't do as well as medieval times or academy harem. They don't, but space haremlet still does decent
Yeah, my
as
next
far
series is going to be
as
steampunk, and I've been told steampunk is not a good seller, but I love it, and I like the story that I've come up with. So yeah, I'm going to do steampunk. I don't care if it's not meta. So
yeah. It and even though it's not meta, it's still it will still do better than if you went that off meta in progressive fantasy or lit RPG
mm.
because there are people that will read it just because it's harem lit,
Yeah, like
and
I don't know if
that's
that's common in other genres because I never paid attention, but I noticed that in harem lit, where fans are ravenous and they will devour
mhm,
one, two, three books a week sometimes. They are hungry for new content. So yeah,
yes.
that's one benefit, and that's why people have asked, well, why should I follow these rules? Well, you don't have to. If you want to write just regular harem or why choose or something, you can do that. But if you want to use these communities to reach that bigger audience, then yeah, you got to follow the rules. And no one says you have to. You can write whatever you want. Call it haremlet if you want to, but if you try to promote it within these communities, it's not going to go well.
Mhm.
Um, but once you do kind of get your foot in the door inside a haremlet, and you find your fans there, then yeah, they are incredibly loyal. So
Yes. And that's another thing that I really, really like about the haremlet, and one of the reasons why I'm I did Dungeon Mantle, and then after I'm still writing Dungeon Mantle, but I tried to do 40-second looper as a lit RPG, and the toxicity in that community was just wearing me down.
well, that actually kind of brings up
And
the next point is like, how do you deal with criticism? Um,
and going over to the because in lit RPG they'll go, yeah, this is just stupid. That was stupid. You shouldn't have done that. Don't do that. Write this instead. And in harem lit they'll go, you know what? I don't know that this actually stays true to character. But if you did something like this, the whole scene would work.
mm, a little more constructive.
Very much more constructive. And it was a couple months ago, but I saw two different posts. One was on the lit RPG subreddit, and the guy or the person, not sure the gender, said wanting to write a lit RPG story, was wondering um, if there was anybody out there who could give me some advice, some pointers. And a lot of the comments and responses to it was, there's guides out there for that.
Mm,
People have written these things, and you know they had all of this. Why are you making this post? We do some googling, and there was someone else. I mean, the same day on the harem fantasy novels that did the same exact thing.
mm,
Said, I want to start writing harem lit. Do you guys have any advice for somebody? Virgil Knightley commented on it.
yeah. Yeah, the authors, like I
saying,
said, they're very supportive. That's like I've said it multiple times on Patreon and on these videos. Like the Reddit and the Haremlet Discord, they are super helpful.
"Oh
Um,
yes,
as long as you're not stupid and you don't like we've
well,
had
yeah,
problems in the past where somebody would come into the writers room in the Discord and they want like beta readers. Oh, can you read this for me? Can you read this for me? It's like, okay, look, that's not what this is here for. Like they don't
hmm
understand like okay, we will offer advice and things like that. We can critique a point or two, but you can't show up and drop like 5 pages. Hey, can you read this for me? Is this okay? Is this so stuff like that? They're not going to be as receptive to, and people usually, but they won't like dog you out. They will just mostly just not answer you. But when someone says,
hmm
hey, I have this idea. What do you think of this? And it's like, oh, that could work or blah blah blah. So yeah, they're incredibly supportive. Um, very low levels of like toxicity on the Reddit
oh yeah,
and the Discord. And they moderate it pretty well. They keep uh so
hmm
yeah, I would agree with you. Yeah, they're very supportive. They're always encouraging
it's a
new
very
authors and they've done a lot for me. I wouldn't have published I probably at all without them to kind of like walk me through some of that stuff. So yeah.
hmm and that's something I have seen Marcus Sloss go. Yeah, at, the best thing that you could do is self-publish, but here, let me help walk you through how to do that yourself.
Yeah. Well, I know he made a comment in the Discord once, I thought was kind of funny. He's like, he wants you to publish first on your own because then you realize how
hmm
hard it is. Then when you come to him and say, hey, can I work with you? And can you guys, and then just like, then you don't complain about their fee because you realize all the work they're doing now. And that's why they get the cut that they do. I was like, that's pretty clever. He's like, no, no, hey, let me do it. Do what you got to do. I'll even give you some advice. And when you're ready to like, shit, I don't want to do that anymore. It's like, okay, we'll be
Yeah.
happy to work with you, but there is a fee. So I was like, yeah. And he's, I haven't published through Royal Road or Royal Guard. I don't know if I ever will. I don't know if I write at the kind of speed they prefer, but I can send him a message right now and say, hey, blah blah blah, and he'll help me out. He'll reply back and say, yeah, dude,
hmm
so yeah, he's pretty great. So
He's a pretty stand-up guy.
yeah.
So, yeah, that's
So when people do sort of hit at you and they drop these comments that are like, what are you even talking about and blah, like, how do you sort of because that's tough for some people. Some people can't accept criticism and or it like ruins their day. So how do you sort of handle those negative comments? Do you just let them wash over you? Do you take them to heart? Like, do they tend to affect you or no?
it. When I first started putting stuff out on Royal Road, it hit me really hard. And I caught some really nasty comments, and I stopped writing for almost a year.
Mm,
Um, it's about 8 months that I stopped writing for.
okay.
Just because it hit, it cut pretty deep. Um, when Dungeon Mantle came out on Amazon, um, I had somebody that I've got a 1-star review that says that it must be AI written,
Mm.
and I'm going. They talk about how they've caught grammar mistakes, and so it must be AI written, and I'm going,
Yeah, I've been lucky. Nobody's accused me of AI, but I am worried about it because I use the M dash. I love my M dash. You'll take it from my cold dead
yeah,
hands. But that tends to be sort of like a hallmark of because Chat GPT loves the M dash too, unfortunately.
yeah. So, and then another one, because it's all fade to black, they said this must have been written by a virgin. I'm going,
Okay.
ah. But I mean, as far as those comments go now, it's one of those, well, I mean, it says verified purchase, so
Mm. Yeah, so
you
just like I
bought
said,
it.
I logged into Royal Road today just to pull up your page, and I had a review that someone dropped. My books are stubbed on Royal Road. Um, so this guy just read the first 5 chapters, I guess, of the first book, And he's right. Oh, there's cooking. It's like, what are you even talking about? You've read 5 chapters. There is no sex in the 5 chapters. There's no cooking in the 5 chapters. But the guy was like, "Oh, there's cooking." So for me, when I get something like that, like I've been fortunate that the people who have written reviews have been almost universally positive about. I've had a couple of like lukewarm ones, and just one or two that were like didn't like it, didn't like this, which is okay. But I can tell when someone is writing from a place of like intention, like good intentions, like it's an honest, didn't like it for this reason, and it's like okay, but like the one today is like, what do you do? Did you even? And there was one, the guy was like, oh, the character won't stop talking about how beautiful the girls are. I was like, are we reading? Because no, I didn't do that. Like he's not, oh, her boobs were breasting boobily, and there was none of that in my book. But for him, the little bit that was there, for him, that was too much. I was like, all right, well, he's maybe a lit RPG enjoyer, and he just doesn't like romance because it's my book is very mild when it comes to that. But for the most part, I can sort of take it in the spirit that I feel they were giving it.
Mhm.
Now these days has it gotten easier to accept those things? Like, do you just like, "Oh, okay, well, he didn't like it and whatever."
It has. I kind of have shifted from the concept of Royal Road being a gauge of how good the book is
Mm. Yeah, with Harem Lit
to
especially,
Royal
I would
Road
I would use RR for that.
being a forum for beta readers.
Mm,
And so if there's somebody on there who's just being belligerent about something, then I'm going to ignore them like I would ignore a beta reader who went way off script
mm,
and just go, it sounds like this isn't something that you usually like to read, and I'm not going to change it to be something you want it to be because this is my story.
mm.
And not everybody's going to enjoy the same stories. So I appreciate you giving it a look and see ya.
Yeah, there's
So,
there's a YouTuber that I think I mentioned her before, but she's like those long form YouTube essay people, and she was talking about how fan fiction, the rise of fan fiction with, starting way back in the Tumblr days on the internet, has really sort of degraded the whole concept of online fiction because you get so many people who want exactly what they want, and if it's not exactly what they've imagined already, then they hate it. And these communities
mhm.
can get super toxic because people have become accustomed to being able to fine tune their desire in a story to like these really minute points where it has to be exactly like this, and the character does exactly these little things that I like the most. And so it's created these sort of things where people are never satisfied because you didn't write what they wanted, this one person wanted to. So you have to be
Yeah.
aware of that, I think, going into this, that you may get those sort of people. Um, all right.
You
Well, I
don't
do want to
tend to
be
get
cognizant of
those
your
as
time.
much
We're,
in
we're
Haremlit, though.
yeah, in Hamlet, as long as you follow the rules, people tend to be pretty chill. But yeah, I want to be aware of the time. We're pushing an hour here, so unfortunately, we want to skip some of this stuff. But do want to talk about what's coming up in the future for you. Like, what do you have going on? Like, what are you looking forward to for the rest of the year, going into next year? Like, what projects you have going on?
Um,
Tell people what you're doing.
I'm going to keep writing Dungeon Mantle and 42nd Looper. Um, I'm going to get Lawless Pride done up. The next thing I have tentatively titled Spirit Warriors.
Okay.
Um,
Is this Harem Lit or Lit RPG or
it'll be Haremlit.
okay?
Um, I don't have any um, pure lit RPG on the horizon that I can see.
Okay.
So I have effectively transitioned over
Okay.
where
But I mean, the
um
nice thing about Haremlit is you can do Lit RPG Haremlit. You can have your number crunching
yes.
and your levels because Haremlit is very receptive to that. So I don't know if I'll ever do Lit RPG. I don't have that. I don't know if I have that sort of. I don't think I can drill down and create a game lit system. I don't know. But yeah, Haremlit is just fine with Lit RPG. A lot of Haremlit is Lit RPG. So.
and I do have an idea for a like system survival,
Okay.
um, where the main character is going to be essentially part of the incursion that goes
Interesting. Okay, so you're
over
kind of
to the
flipping that
world.
instead of being the victim, they're part
So,
of the incursion.
right.
Okay.
And they're one of the ones that's collecting the resources to bring back to their homeworld.
Okay.
So that's one of the that's an idea I have. I haven't really done much on that concept, but I have a potential co-write that I'm talking with another author about doing.
Okay.
So could be doing, depending on how that goes and how their schedule goes, could be
Awesome.
doing that. Um,
Now, is this a full-time job for you? Do you pull in enough with all the things, or do you working outside of this?
I am fully physically disabled.
Oh, well, shit, that sucks.
So yeah, this is kind of my full-time job,
Okay.
but it's also um I have from what I did before, which strangely enough, I was a minister for 15 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. A man of the cloth.
Which for someone like that to go into Haremlit, that's,
Hey, no, I always forget his name, but there's a guy who he's in Harem Lit, but he for his sort of like personal beliefs, he went all fade to black. I always forget who it is. And I'm not gonna. I screwed it up last time, but yeah. So stranger things have happened.
hmm yeah, but I mean, eh, I don't necessarily have a problem writing the explicit scenes, so yeah. Um, but it's what I'm making my quote unquote day job now.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I don't know if I'll ever get to that point myself. I maybe write too slow, but I wouldn't complain if I did. So
yeah,
one of your, let's say Dungeon Mantle gets optioned for a Netflix series. Who's your MC? Who's your dream cast for the MC? Pedro Pascal. He's in everything.
I don't know because it would have to be someone who could pass as someone young, and I've not been watching a lot of movies or TV lately.
Okay.
So I don't know who that was one of them. I don't know.
Hmm. Well, that's cool. All right, we're gonna go to the rapid fire question. Just very quick, get to know you questions. Quick answers is all you need. So first one, pineapple on pizza, yay or nay? No, no pineapple on pizza. All right. Kirk or Picard?
Um, Probably Kirk.
Kirk, okay. Zeppelin or Pink Floyd?
Did I mention I was a minister?
So you can write Harem Lip, but you don't listen to
I,
the old classics,
I that
right? Who is that? Who is
I
that
grew up.
Christian rock bands? I don't remember their names. I used to be a little bit into that. Was it Striper? Was that one of the Christian rock bands from the 80s? The hair metal Christian rock Striper? Was that, am I remembering that right?
I haven't heard of that.
Okay.
I
Um,
I grew up very, very repressed. So
I got
this
you.
is kind of my
We always
rebellious
have
phase,
Amy
I guess.
Grant. Amy Grant. We can go to her.
Yeah.
All right, guilty pleasure movie.
Hitch.
Hitch. Okay. Yeah. Who's the girl in that? The love interest. Um,
Eva Longoria?
yeah.
Is
No,
that
no,
it?
no, not her. No, that's not her. Um, I can't remember her name. She's really pretty. Anyway, you're stranded on a desert island. What's your food? What do you bring in to survive on the desert island? One food. Ooh, deep thoughts for this one.
Well, my knee-jerk reaction would be to say pizza, but I am allergic to tomatoes, so that's one of my guilty pleasures. I know I'm going to be miserable for the next day, so
Okay. Probably wouldn't be your day-to-day food on
uh,
the island.
it would not be my day-to-day food on the
Although I
island.
mean, they do have white pizza, so you know,
Yes. Well, I'm also allergic to garlic, so I'd have to make sure.
man, you're having a rough time. Okay. Because like I would go like lasagna or something. That would just kill you. Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite curse word when God's not looking.
Oh, I honestly like crap. Um, Mainly because most people take it to be a form of shit.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I did when I was in college was the honors club um, would once a year we would be the dealers at the local businesses. They would have a get together and a casino night.
Hmm.
And so all the kids that were part of the honors club would go out there and they would be the dealers for it. And so they always had me run the crap table.
No, okay.
So I got used to crap from, oh, I just lost everything.
Hmm. No, it's a good all-purpose word.
So
So I
yeah.
mentioned before I teach ESL in Korea, and the class I had today, the student, she's an adult, she wanted to know about some cuss words. So we spent a good like 15 minutes talking about fuck. So that was fun. All right, last question. So because we're both writers, the Oxford comma, yay or nay?
Yes.
Yeah, right on, my Oxford comma people. All right, man. Well, I want to thank you for your time. I know it's late for you. So tell people where they can find you. And of course, all that will be included in the
Um,
description. But if they want to look you up, where do they find you?
if they want to look me up, they can find me on Royal Road under Kamat Alex Hancock. If they want to find, and from there, um, the discords I tend to be more active in are listed in the post notes of my chapters, which are the Harem Lit Book Club, the H Lit site, Royal Guard Publishing's Discord, and it's currently called RR Writers Guild, but it's going through a rebranding.
As is the
So
Royal Road Discord.
it's not the official Royal Road Discord. It's the one that started as a group of writers, and
Hmm.
it's going through kind of a rebranding at the moment.
And you
So
said you
it
have a
may not be
Patreon.
that.
You have a Patreon, right?
I do have a Patreon. It's Earth's Exiles.
Okay.
And if you look at that as one word, it is Earth Sex Lies. So
Well, yeah, like I said, that'll be all down below in the description.
yeah,
Well, look, I want to thank you again for your time. It's been a lot of fun,
thanks for having me.
and I look forward to finishing Dungeon Mantle and seeing how that shapes up. So, thanks a lot.
Thank you.